isn't a trail of peace. This is pressure overload. A hill built for 1,000, forced to carry lakhs.
Instead of lightening the footprint, you have allowed people to actually get into every nook and corner of the Himalayas.
Careless travel, choking hills. If we don't change now, there won't be much left to enjoy.
We need to follow the Bhutan model, regulate people who can access hills.
News 9 presents Heal the Hills, continuous coverage.
When drinking water turns deadly, it demands answers.
What is really going on there?
News 9 brings you
Imagine water that you drink.
contaminated drinking water in Indore, revealing a disturbing link to at least 15 reported deaths.
Typhoid outbreak in tribal areas. 104 patients.
After 15 people were killed.
Foul, frothy water from taps.
You would assume it's safe. It turned deadly.
Because how is that happening?
Different cities. One national crisis. Bharat. Quest for clean water. News 9. In your interest.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9, English news as it should be.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Morning Brief with me, Shweta Kothari, stepping in for Karthik Malhotra today. First up, let's take a look at headlines we're tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Modi holds CEO roundtable at the India AI Impact Summit 2026, pushes responsible AI growth as Reliance, Microsoft, Google and others announce massive investments to position India as a global AI hub. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman calls India's AI rise amazing, predicts Codex boom, startup surge and deeper global partnerships as adoption accelerates. And India to set up a world-class aeronautics and defense skilling center in Kanpur, with France under PM-SETU scheme to boost aviation talent, aerospace sector and strategic partnership between the two countries. And gold nears 1.5 lakhs, silver crosses 2.6 lakhs in Delhi as safe haven demand surges amid U.S.-Iran tensions, geopolitical risks and global market uncertainty. US President Donald Trump warns Iran to strike a nuclear deal within the next 10 days or face bad things, signaling potential US military action if negotiations fail. Iran fires back, warning American bases and assets across the region would become legitimate targets if Washington follows through on military threats. US President Donald Trump addresses inaugural meeting of the Board of Peace, says nations have committed $7 billion towards Gaza reconstruction. Contingent on Hamas disarming and a goal that remains uncertain. And former UK Prince Andrew, younger brother of King Charles III, released from police custody after being arrested over allegations that he shared confidential documents with late sex convict Jeffrey Epstein. United States finalized a trade pact with Indonesia, setting tariffs at 19% on Indonesian goods, down from 32%, while locking in rules on market access and non-tariff barriers. And our top story at this hour coming from the AI summit here in the national capital. Prime Minister Modi held discussions with global CEOs on scaling up artificial intelligence responsibly and strengthening international collaboration during a high-level roundtable at India AI Impact Summit 2026 in the national capital on Thursday. Calling the talks insightful and forward-looking, Prime Minister Modi said the focus remained on ethical AI growth, innovation and unlocking new economic opportunities. He also highlighted a shared commitment among leaders to use AI for human progress and sustainable development. The 5-day summit themed Sarvjana Hitaya, welfare for all as well as happiness for all, which is Sarvjana Sukhya, has brought together global policymakers, technology executives and researchers to discuss inclusive growth and stronger public systems and investments in public systems. Major investment and announcements highlighted India's growing AI ambitions. Reliance committed about $110 billion for AI-ready and AI-related data centers and nationwide edge computing. Microsoft pledged $50 billion to expand AI access across Global South, while Google unveiled a subsea cable initiative and Yota Data Services announced over $2 billion for advanced AI chips near Delhi. And that is only as far as the first 3 days of the AI summit. And India's push to become a global AI powerhouse gathered pace as conglomerates led by Mukesh Ambani and Gautam Adani pledged a combined $210 billion to build large-scale artificial intelligence infrastructure at the India AI Impact Summit. Ambani announced a 10 lakh crore rupee investment in gigawatt-scale AI-ready data centers in Jamnagar, powered by surplus green energy and integrated with Jio's nationwide network for low-latency AI services. Adani Group unveiled a $100 billion plan for renewable-powered hyperscale data centers by 2035, warning that AI will reshape national sovereignty. The broader initiative could catalyze a $250 billion AI network across servers, cloud platforms and supporting industries. And OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has praised India's rapid artificial intelligence growth, calling the country's progress really quite amazing and highlighting strong investment across AI stack from infrastructure to applications. Speaking on the sidelines of the AI India Impact Summit, Altman said that India could soon become the world's biggest market for Codex and may witness a wave of AI-driven startups. He also signaled openness to deeper partnerships and potential expansion of OpenAI's Stargate initiative, while noting that countries will experiment with different AI regulations before global standards evolve. Altman also said that AI will reshape jobs, stressing on the need for reskilling, adaptability and better use of AI tools, while urging educators to rethink teaching methods so students can continue to think creatively even as AI becomes more powerful.
Just got here, but I'm really excited to be here. I think it'll be a couple of days of great conversation. What's happening with AI in India is amazing. It's kind of the fastest growing market for us in the world. And the spirit of the creativity here is amazing to watch. I think it'll be a very bright future for the world's largest democracy.
And Bharti Enterprises Chairman Sunil Mittal also said that India has cemented a strong position in the global AI framework by hosting the first major artificial intelligence summit for the Global South. Speaking at the India AI Impact Summit, Mittal called the event one of the most powerful AI gatherings nationwide and highlighted Airtel's push into sovereign cloud and data centers and their expansion in India. The telecom major aims to double its market share to 25% while scaling capacity from 120 megawatts to 1 gigawatt over the next 3 to 4 years. Take a look.
Chandru, thank you very much. I just want to, bring you in before we end today, and for our an audience here. Prime Minister also spoke about making open standards, keeping AI open to the world for the benefit of democratizing, in sense, AI, as opposed to caging it and having it in the hands of a few. Talk about it. A lot of people have views on this. From countries like India and many other, all the European leaders who are assembled here today, there seems to be a very clear message: engage with each other, make open standards. AI should be available to all for the benefit of humanity. Is there any danger that some of the leading AI developers, companies, may keep it more controlled, and we may have to fight that battle hard? So how can we showcase India's frugal power of innovation? Look at the Gaganyaan, the moon mission. India did it at $74 million. US did it at $92 billion. And India had a perfect landing on the moon, on the difficult side of the moon. How can we persuade US companies, large conglomerates, to use India not only for billions of people using their products, but how to learn from frugal innovation that we do here?
And India is set to boost its aviation and defence skilling ecosystem with the proposed National Centre for Excellence at the National Skill Training Institute in Kanpur, developed in collaboration with France. Announced under PM-SETU scheme, the world-class centre will focus on advanced training in aeronautics, maintenance, repair and overhaul, airport operations and defence manufacturing. Skill Development Minister Jayant Chaudhary said that the initiative will create globally competitive aviation professionals while deepening India-France cooperation in advanced technologies. The partnership will include co-designed curriculum, trainer exchanges as well as mobility pathways between the two countries. With a 60,000 crore rupee PM-SETU outlay to upgrade 1,000 ITIs nationwide, similar sector-focused centres are also planned in Ludhiana, Hyderabad, Chennai and Bhubaneswar to align skills with emerging industry needs. Precious metal prices surged sharply in Delhi as geopolitical tensions and safe haven demand pushed gold and silver to record highs. Silver jumped about 7% to settle at about 2.5 lakh rupees per kilogram, exactly at 2.64 lakh rupees per kilogram, gaining about 18,000 rupees in a single session, while gold of 99.9% purity rose about 1,950 rupees to settle at 1.5 lakh per 10 grams. The rally tracked global trends with spot silver trading near $78 an ounce and hovering about $5,000 at the moment. Analysts say that rising fear of potential US military action against Iran and renewed uncertainty after stalled Russia-Ukraine conversations and talks have driven investors towards safe haven assets. Market participants are now watching key US economic data, including GDP numbers, which could influence RBI's expectations and rate cut cycle in the months to come, and will also affect the move in bullion prices in the next couple of days. And Hyderabad's iconic biryani is now at the center of a massive financial investigation. What started as a routine tax scrutiny has exploded into what officials are now calling one of the biggest tax evasion rackets in India's food and beverage industry, running into thousands of crores of rupees. The Income Tax Department in Hyderabad and its investigation unit analyzed nearly 60 terabytes of transactional data pulled from pan-India cloud-based billing software platform used by over 1 lakh customers. And what they found is staggering. Since 2019-2020 financial year, restaurants allegedly suppressed sale turnover worth 70,000 crore rupees. Investigators deployed advanced big data analytics and artificial intelligence tools, including generative AI, to examine records which were linked to 1.7 lakh restaurant IDs across the country. And here's the key detail. Back-end logs of the billing software reportedly revealed systematic post-billing deletions, transactions that were generated, bills that were issued but later erased before final tax reporting. Nationwide, these deletions alone amount to 13,000 crore rupees, a significant chunk in the total suspected suppression. Sources say that the alleged modus operandi involved running parallel records, one set for the bills for customers, another for tax filing, effectively keeping a portion of the revenue off the books. And because the software was centralized, investigators were able to reconstruct deleted entries using server backups and metadata trails. Notices have now been issued to several restaurant chains. Further action under Income Tax Act and GST laws is likely. Authorities are also examining whether software vendors were complicit or merely negligent. What began as data discrepancies has now turned into a nationwide compliance crackdown, and it could fundamentally change how India's fast-growing food services industry is monitored in the digital age. And with that, it's time for a very short break. We'll be back in just a bit.
रश्मि, ये मैडम बड़े शहर से छोटे शहर बसने जा रही है, बताओ। छोटे छोटे शहरों में ही तो है बड़े बड़े अखाड़े, नए नए दावपेच सीखेगी और फ्यूचर में मेडल जीतेगी। पर बेटा, इनका फ्यूचर?
बड़े पापा, SBI लाइफ से इनका फ्यूचर सिक्योर है।
अभी तो इसकी जीत का इरादा पक्का है। करो पूरे अपने इरादे, अपनों से किए सभी वादे। SBI लाइफ अपने लिए, अपनों के लिए।
Birla Opus Paints.
सब तू है रे, बस चाहिए हमें तू खुश रहे, फिक्रे हो उड़न छू, ओ यारा जब मेरे संग।
25 साल से आपने ICICI लॉम्बार्ड पे भरोसा रखा और आपके सपनों को सुरक्षित रखने का मौका दिया। शुक्रिया इंडिया। ICICI लॉम्बार्ड, निभाए वादे।
This isn't a trail of peace. This is pressure overload. A hill built for 1,000, forced to carry lakhs.
Instead of lightening the footprint, you have allowed people to actually get into every nook and corner of the Himalayas.
Careless travel, choking hills. If we don't change now, there won't be much left to enjoy.
We need to follow the Bhutan model, regulate people who can access hills.
News 9 presents Heal the Hills, continuous coverage.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Brief. Indian equity markets witnessed a sharp sell-off on Thursday, with benchmark indices ending deep in the red as investor sentiments turned cautious over the weekend. The BSE Sensex plunged more than 1,400 points during the session, while Nifty slipped below 24,460, erasing nearly 7.5 lakh crore rupees in investor wealth in a single day of trading. Markets were under pressure from a mix of global and domestic headwinds. A significant US military build-up in the Middle East, including the deployment of warships, fighter jets and aerial refueling aircraft, has positioned Washington for a potential sustained campaign against Iran should President Donald Trump authorize action. A looming war in West Asia played a dampener on the Lal streets yesterday. It's playing a dampener today as well. We'll get you that market data in just a short while. But other factors include uncertainty over direction of the US Federal Reserve policy, with minutes of the latest meeting showing divergence among policymakers over future rate cuts, weighing on the risk appetite. If the US Federal Reserve delays rate cuts or raises rates, it is negative for Indian equities because higher US yields make American assets more attractive relative to emerging markets like India. Another key drag on the sentiment was a rise in crude oil prices. Brent crude and US West Texas Intermediate both moved higher as geopolitical tensions persisted in the Middle East, raising concerns about supply risks and inflationary pressures. Higher energy costs can squeeze corporate margins and feed through into broader economic inflation, so markets are watching these trends today as well. The decline was also broad-based across sectors, with heavyweights from banking, auto to FMCG facing sell-off pressure. The broad weakness added to the downward momentum, leaving many investors cautious about short-term prospects. And as the Wall Street digests these developments, the focus will now turn to global cues, crude price movement and central bank commentary for clues on whether this volatility will persist and if markets can stabilize in the sessions ahead. But let's quickly also take a look at the markets data for this morning, largely in the red, although it's a very tepid start. Let's pull that data on our screens. The factors, as I mentioned, to watch out for are persistent, but it's a cautious sentiment this morning. Nifty down just about 0.04%, over 25,400 mark at 25,444. Sensex is also just about 0.08% down, holding above 82,370 mark at 375. Mid cap is up very slightly, 0.05%. Small cap continues to be down. India VIX, the volatility index, is also down. Let's also take a look at broader segments as far as markets is concerned. The sectors, it's a sea of red, but also I think as far as the banking pack is concerned, the sentiment is largely turning positive there on your screens, with HDFC Bank barely negative, ICICI in green, SBI Bank also in green. So it's a mixed pack there as far as broader markets is concerned. Technology sector taking a beating, TCS, Infi all down this morning, and IT sector there continues to bear the brunt of a flow and a slew of bad news there as far as IT is concerned. A mixed bag for energy, largely in positive. Reliance is in positive, so are other key companies as far as energy is concerned. Consumer durables there also a mixed bag today. Maruti in green, as is M&M, Tata and other key companies. Non-energy mineral sector is largely in negative. Communications is in negative. And that's as far as Indian markets today. As I mentioned, global commentary, crude price movement and cues from President Donald Trump will decide on whether this volatility will persist going into the next week. And on to the news coming on global uncertainty. US President Donald Trump is warning Iran, strike a deal or face consequences. President Trump said on Thursday that Iran must reach a nuclear deal within what appeared to be a 10-day window, or bad things could happen to West Asia. Indirect talks were held in Geneva earlier with US envoys and Iran's foreign minister to ease tensions this week, but a breakthrough announcement is still awaited. Washington wants Tehran to give up its nuclear program, something Iran firmly denies. Pursuing for weapons, says the only reason Iran is pursuing nuclear is for energy needs.
Good talks are being had. It's proven to be, over the years, not easy to make a meaningful deal with Iran. We have to make a meaningful deal, otherwise bad things happen. And we do have some work to do with Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You can't have peace in the Middle East if they have a nuclear weapon. And they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they've been told that very strongly. And now is the time for Iran to join us on a path that will complete what we're doing. And if they join us, that'll be great. If they don't join us, that'll be great too. But it'll be a very different path. They cannot continue to threaten the stability of the entire region, and they must make a deal. Or if that doesn't happen, maybe can understand. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But bad things will happen.
US President Donald Trump says billions have been pledged to rebuild Gaza. He told the first meeting of his Board of Peace in Washington that nations have committed to nearly $7 billion to a Gaza reconstruction fund. The fund aims to rebuild the entire conclave, but only after Hamas disarms, an objective that remains far from reality, at least for now.
Gaza is very complex.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday announced at the inaugural meeting of his Board of Peace that $7 billion had been raised for a Gaza reconstruction fund. The fund aims to rebuild the enclave once Hamas disarms, an objective that is far from becoming a reality.
Hamas has been, I think they're going to give up their weapons, which is what they promised. If they don't, it'll be, they'll be harshly met, very harshly met. They don't want that.
There are major questions likely to test the effectiveness of the board in the months ahead, including the disarmament of Hamas militants and withdrawal of Israeli troops, the size of the reconstruction fund, and the flow of humanitarian aid to Gaza's war-battered populace. Estimates for rebuilding the enclave range up to $70 billion. The board's membership is mostly made up of Middle Eastern countries, plus leaders from outside the region who may be looking to gain favor with Trump. Its founding membership does not include some key U.S. Western allies concerned about the scope of the initiative. It includes Israel but not Palestinian representatives. Trump said several nations are planning to send thousands of troops to participate in an international stabilization force that will help keep the peace in Gaza when it eventually deploys. He also said the U.S. will make a contribution of $10 billion to the board. He did not say where the money would come from.
That number is a very small number when you look at that compared to the cost of war.
Trump proposed the board in September, when he announced his plan to end Israel's war in Gaza. But even as he talked himself up as a man of peace, Trump rattled sabers against Iran.
We have to make a meaningful deal, otherwise bad things happen.
Displaced Palestinians in Gaza appeared cautious about reconstruction plans.
We hope that the reconstruction happens quickly, and that the money that has been allocated truly goes to the right place and isn't mismanaged in any way.
King Charles' younger brother, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, was released from police custody after being arrested over allegations of misconduct in public office on Thursday. The accusations related to claims he sent confidential government documents to Jeffrey Epstein while he was in office. Take a look.
King Charles's younger brother, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, was released from police custody on Thursday evening after being arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office over allegations he sent confidential government documents to Jeffrey Epstein. He was captured in this Reuters photograph, seated inside a car, appearing visibly shaken. Mountbatten Windsor had been questioned all day by detectives from Thames Valley Police. They later said an arrested man had been released under investigation. The police force said it was looking into allegations that Mountbatten Windsor had passed documents to the late convicted sex offender while working as a trade envoy. The arrest of the senior royal, eighth in line to the throne, is unprecedented in modern times. King Charles, who appeared at a fashion show in London just hours after his brother's arrest, said in a statement that, quote, "The law must take its course." Mountbatten Windsor, the second son of the late Queen Elizabeth, has always denied any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein and said he regrets their friendship. His office did not respond to a request for comment, and he has not spoken publicly since the U.S. government released more than 3 million pages of documents relating to Epstein, who was convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor in 2008. Those files suggested that in 2010, Mountbatten Windsor forwarded Epstein reports about Vietnam, Singapore, and other places the former prince had visited on official trips. Sky Roberts, the brother of Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent accusers, welcomed Mountbatten Windsor's arrest.
I think we're very hopeful that this is the start of the domino effect. This is where the house of cards starts falling. And, kudos to the UK for taking the first step, for saying, you know what, we are going to arrest somebody who is held to one of the highest esteems out there.
The arrest means that police have reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed and that the royal is suspected of involvement in an offense, but it does not imply guilt.
Wall Street's closed lower on Thursday as private equity stocks dragged markets down. However, gains in industrial shares helped limit broader decline. Advertising giant Omicron jumped about 15% after beating fourth quarter revenue estimates. Take a look.
Wall Street's main indexes ended lower on Thursday, with the Dow losing more than 0.5% and the S&P 500 and Nasdaq each losing about 1/3%. Shares of private capital firm Blue Owl slid about 6% after the company said it would sell $1.4 billion in assets and freeze redemptions at one of its funds to manage debt and return capital. The company's troubles weighed on shares of Apollo Global Management, Ares, KKR, and Carlyle Group as investors worried about credit quality and lenders' exposure to software stocks. The risk of contagion, especially to public banks, presents a deeper fear, said Leah Bennett, chief investment strategist at Concurrent Investment Advisors.
If people are not willing to lend to private companies and we end up having problems where underwriting isn't looked at the right way and we've been too loose on our standards, then that causes banks overall and lenders to get very conservative, and they end up just lending to the companies that have the best balance sheets. And usually that causes a retraction in the economy overall. And that's ultimately what keeps me up at night. So whenever we see these things come up, whether or not can Oracle borrow money, can for their data centers, can AI raise money, private credit, are there issues there? They're all intertwined. It's how healthy is the economy and our lending system, and will the economy contract at a very rapid rate? And that's ultimately what my concern is.
Among other stock moves, Deere & Company jumped more than 11% after the farm machinery maker raised its annual profit forecast and beat first quarter results estimates. Shares of advertising giant Omnicom jumped 15% after the company beat analyst estimates for fourth quarter revenue. And shares of software provider EPAM Systems plunged 17% after its cautious first quarter outlook disappointed investors.
Walmart's new CEO, John Furner, is striking a cautious note and a cautious tone. In fact, John Furner has issued a forecast for the coming year that fell short of analyst expectations as stronger online demand boosted holiday revenue, but concerns remain over growth momentum. Take a look.
Walmart's new CEO, John Furner, kicked off his tenure with a forecast for the coming year that fell short of analysts' expectations. The retail giant, which reported quarterly earnings on Thursday, said it expects net sales to grow 3.5% to 4.5% this year, below analysts' estimates of roughly 5%, according to data compiled by LSEG. Walmart is increasingly banking on its e-commerce business to drive growth in a diverging U.S. consumer environment. Households earning more than $100,000 have been shopping more on Walmart's e-commerce platforms, helping to boost the retailer's market share gains over the past 2 years. But in a post-earnings call, Furner noted that households earning below $50,000 are still feeling stretched. Online sales in the U.S. rose by 27% last quarter, the company's 15th straight quarterly double-digit increase. U.S. same-store sales for the quarter rose 4.6%, beating estimates. Walmart has stayed largely unscathed from the impact of tariffs, given the retail giant's dominance in groceries and its ability to secure the lowest prices from suppliers, making it a popular choice for value-conscious shoppers. The company now faces the task of scaling higher-margin revenue streams such as advertising while maintaining store performance and margins. Walmart shares, which crossed $1 trillion in value earlier this month, reversed course from pre-market losses to rise more than 2% in Thursday morning trading.
And European airline manufacturer Airbus is scaling back its jet production plans. The company has trimmed its main aircraft production goal amid engine supply shortage linked to Pratt & Whitney. The company warned it may enforce contractual rights as parts disputes push its shares down 6%. Take a look.
Airbus cut its main jet production goal on Thursday. The plane maker blamed it on a dispute with Pratt & Whitney over engine supply shortfalls. Investors sold off after the announcement and shares were down more than 6%. Airbus now targets output for its best-selling model, the narrow-body A320neo series, of between 70 and 75 jets a month by the end of next year. It had previously predicted 75 a month next year, up from 60 now. Thursday's public fallout follows months of tensions between the firms. It's over the allocation of engines and spare parts between aircraft assembly lines and the repair facilities where engine makers make most of their profit. Airbus officials said Pratt & Whitney had reconsidered initial proposals around engine volumes and then, quote, failed to make a formal supply agreement. Airbus CEO Guillaume Faury said the world's largest playmaker was dissatisfied with the move. He further warned Airbus would enforce their contractual rights. Pratt & Whitney parent RTX didn't comment, but the engine maker has said it's in constant dialogue with Airbus. The setback overshadowed last year's record profits for Airbus and led to what analysts call disappointing goals for this year. Airbus predicted 870 jet deliveries, up from 793 last year, and adjusted operating profit around $8.8 billion. The firm also reported a fourth quarter adjusted operating profit of just over $3.5 billion, up 17% and ahead of analyst projections.
French car maker Renault is bracing for tighter margins. The company forecasts lower margins for 2026 after reporting a 15% drop in operating profit last year. Renault Group is facing rising competition and price pressure from Chinese and traditional rivals. Take a look.
Renault shares fell around 6% on Thursday. Investors sold off after the French automaker forecast lower margins for this year as it takes on strong competition. It's aiming for around a 5.5% group operating margin in 2026, down from last year's 6.3%. Renault had previously warned market conditions were difficult in the second quarter, especially in the European van market it leads, although it expects its van business to grow again this year. Renault said fierce rivalries in passenger cars will continue as more Chinese brands arrive in Europe. Larger rival Stellantis is also pushing an aggressive sales strategy to regain market share. Renault CEO Francois Provost said the car maker was ready to fight Chinese competition with lower costs and a fast pace of new model launches. Renault further reported Thursday a 15% fall in operating profit for last year to $12.8 billion. That was the auto giant's first loss in 5 years. It was largely due to a one-off write-down of $10.9 billion in July on its stake in struggling partner Nissan.
And Nestle is sharpening its focus on core brands after reporting a stronger than expected fourth quarter sales growth. The Swiss conglomerate says it will concentrate on 4 key business areas and plans to sell its remaining ice cream operations as well. Take a look.
Nestle is in talks to sell its remaining ice cream businesses. Thursday's announced move is part of CEO Philippe Navratil's drive to streamline the Swiss consumer food group. The Nescafé coffee maker said it's in advanced talks to sell ice cream businesses in Asia, Canada and parts of Latin America. The proposed buyer is Häagen-Dazs owner Froneri, which is a joint venture Nestle helped set up. Nestle holds a 50% stake in Froneri, which was valued at around $18 billion, including debt, last October. The Nescafé maker plans to sharpen its focus to 4 businesses led by its strongest brands. Those include its coffee, pet care, nutrition and food and snacks units. Thursday's update came as the company reported better than expected fourth quarter sales growth. It was up 4% in the quarter to the end of December, above projections of 3.4%. But it's been a challenging start for Navratil, who announced plans to cut 16,000 jobs soon after taking over in September. He wants to turn the packaged goods giant into a faster-moving firm. although his targets were hit in previous months by the biggest infant formula recall in Nestlé's recent history. The firm has also seen negative impacts from US import tariffs and foreign exchange, as well as consumers with less purchasing power. Looking ahead, Nestlé expects full-year organic sales to be in the range of 3 to 4% for 2026. It also forecasts an improvement in its underlying trading operating profit margin this year. Nestlé sales were up around 4% in early European trade before scaling back.
And world's largest farm equipment maker, Deere & Company, raised its annual profit forecast after beating first quarter estimates. The company credited cost-cutting efforts and a rebound in construction and small agriculture units to the positive numbers. Take a look.
Farm machinery maker Deere's stock surged 12% to an all-time high in Thursday afternoon trading after it raised its annual profit forecast and beat first quarter estimates. It cited cost-cutting initiatives to protect margins and recovery in its construction and small agriculture units. The world's largest farm equipment maker previously scaled back factory production to counter weak demand for new machinery, as lower crop prices and higher input costs push farmers to postpone big-ticket purchases. The company is also working closely with dealers across its network to reduce inventory. CEO John May said, quote, "We're encouraged by the ongoing recovery in demand within both the construction and small agriculture segments," adding, "These positive developments reinforce our belief that 2026 represents the bottom of the current cycle." U.S. President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs have weighed on Deere's operating profits. The company has struggled with higher tariff-driven production costs, as it relies significantly on imported raw materials to manufacture its green and yellow tractors.
And it's been another volatile week in the crypto market, from a surprise loss at Coinbase to calls for faster rules making for Scott Bessent. The crypto sector is making headlines yet again. Here's a roundup of the top digital asset stories shaping markets this week.
From a surprise loss for Coinbase to Scott Bessent's legal call, this is Crypto Weekly. Coinbase posted a surprise quarterly loss of just over $666 million, its first decline in 3 years. The crypto exchange was hit by weaker trading volumes due to a wide-ranging digital asset sell-off. Digital assets slumped in the final 3 months of last year, with Bitcoin plummeting from October's record high. Sentiment around the sector has stayed largely downbeat and hurt Coinbase trading desks. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent wants to see federal rules for digital assets soon. He said it was important for Congress to pass a bill President Trump can sign into law this spring. Bessent said the so-called Clarity Act would give great comfort to the market at a time of high volatility. He added crypto firms have tried to block the legislation, but there is a bipartisan group of lawmakers who want to get it passed. eToro beat estimates for fourth quarter profit. The stock and crypto platform saw strong capital market activity drive up trading income. Net income rose 43% to $115.6 million as investors rotated between crypto and traditional asset classes. Commodities performed strongly, with investors questioning if gold's rally means it's overtaken Bitcoin as the preferred inflation hedge in crypto portfolios. Crypto company Nexo has relaunched in the US. It comes 3 years after it left the country and paid a $45 million fine following clashes with regulators. Nexo co-founder Anthony Trenchev hosted the US president's eldest son Donald Trump Jr. at a business event in Bulgaria last April. Trenchev also had lunch with President Trump last year, where Nexo was the lead sponsor of a golf championship. Clear Street postponed its US initial public offering. The Wall Street broker cited market conditions and became the second delayed listing in a week due to market volatility. Clear Street had already slashed its original target of raising more than $1 billion to $364 million. The firm told Reuters it aims to revisit the listing at a later time.
And time now for a very short break. On the other side, we'll give you a roundup of everything happening at the India Impact AI Summit here in the national capital. Stay tuned.
is losing the fight against pollution.
This is not a story of just children. This is the story of every elderly person in the National Capital Region.
Delhi's hazardous air quality.
Smog capital of the world.
Delhi pollution has left us sick and exposed, also frankly embarrassed.
Hazardous air quality are disrupting daily life.
Growing issue of a toxic air looming large over Delhi.
Delhi's air quality index has been hovering between 300 and 400 for the past week.
The culprit was the same PM2.5, the main pollutant which is emitted from heavy industries, power plants, vehicles, crop burning and coal-based heating.
The overall air quality of the city continues to remain in the very poor category.
We look at how Delhi is once again struggling with danger.
It's not just about today, it's about the future.
Shifting focus to the India AI Impact Summit 2026, one of the biggest gatherings of AI minds, researchers, founders, entrepreneurs who spoke at the summit and who addressed the gathering as well as the nation on what could be the potential impact of AI, how it's going to change the job market and how India and the world should brace for a change. Let's take a look at the biggest voices that spoke at the India AI Impact Summit, starting with Prime Minister Modi.
आज न्यू दिल्ली एआई इम्पैक्ट समिट में मैं एआई के लिए MANAV मानव विजन प्रस्तुत करता हूं। मानव का अर्थ होता है ह्यूमन और मानव विजन कहता है मोरल एंड एथिकल सिस्टम्स, यानी एआई एथिकल गाइडेंस पर आधारित हो। अकाउंटेबल गवर्नेंस, यानी ट्रांसपेरेंट रूल्स, रोबस्ट ओवरसाइट एंड नेशनल सॉवरेनिटी, यानी जिसका डेटा उसका अधिकार। एक्सेसिबल एंड इंक्लूसिव, यानी एआई मोनोपोली नहीं, मल्टीप्लायर बने। वैलिड एंड लेजिटिमेट, यानी एआई लॉफुल और वेरीफाइबल हो। भारत का ये मानव विजन 21वीं सदी की एआई आधारित दुनिया में मानवता के कल्याण की अहम कड़ी बनेगा।
Last year, when France and India co-hosted the AI Action Summit in Paris, we set a global guiding principle for technologies that would transform our societies and our economies. We said then artificial intelligence will be an enabler for our humanity, to innovate faster, to disrupt healthcare, energy, mobility, agriculture, public services, for the good of mankind. Both of us, we do believe in this revolution. 1 year ago, the landscape started to shift. The US announced Stargate, China launched DeepSeek. AI has become a major field of strategic competition, and big tech got even bigger. And a lot of them are in this room and still accelerated during the last year. AI, GPU, chip tensions are now directly translated in geopolitical and macroeconomic terms. Sometimes for the best, sometimes for the worst, I have to say. But clearly 1 year ago, we demonstrated something else. Hegemony from any quarter is not a fatality. There is a path for innovation, independence, and strategic autonomy. And this path, I'm convinced, is one of the countries like France and India must take together. And we've already achieved a lot. If we speak about models, you perfectly described the acceleration and the diversity of this model. India made a deliberate sovereign choice. SML, small language models. Task-specific, designed to run on a smartphone. And India built the first government-funded AI and deployed 38,000 GPUs at the cheapest rates to every startup in the country, as you perfectly described, Mr. Minister. India chose granular and smart, and Europe chose sovereign and scaled. But both chose independence, and both were right.
We believe that democratization of AI is the only fair and safe path forward. Democratization of AI is the best way to ensure that humanity flourishes. On the other hand, centralization of this technology in one company or country could lead to ruin. The desirable future a couple of decades from now has got to look like a world of liberty, democracy, widespread flourishing, and an increase in human agency. Some people want effective totalitarianism in exchange for a cure for cancer. I don't think we should accept that trade-off, nor do I think we need to. AI should extend individual human will. We'll probably need superintelligence to help us figure out the new governance mechanisms to ensure that this happens fairly at scale, and to avoid problems like extremely unbalanced compute access or something else. Second, we believe that AI resilience is a core safety strategy. We don't mean that this is the only safety strategy. We will continue to need to build safe systems and solve difficult technical alignment challenges. But increasingly, we need to start broadening how we think about safety to include societal resilience. No AI lab, no AI system can deliver a good future on their own. For an obvious example, there'll be extremely capable biomodels available open source that could help people create new pathogens. We need a society-wide approach about how we're going to defend against this. And third, the future of AI is not going to unfold exactly like anyone predicts. And we believe that many people need to have a stake in shaping the outcome. The development of AI has already held many surprises, and I assume there are bigger ones to come. We understand that with technology this powerful, people want answers. But it's important to be humble about what we don't know, and always remember that sometimes our best guesses are wrong. Most of the important discoveries happen when technology and society meet, sometimes have some friction, and co-evolve. For example, we don't yet know how to think about some superintelligence being aligned with dictators and totalitarian countries. We don't know how to think about countries using AI to fight new kinds of war with each other. We don't know how to think about when and whether countries are going to have to think about new forms of social contracts. But we think it's important to have more understanding and society-wide debate before we're all surprised.
Back when I was a student, I often took the Coromandel Express train from Chennai up to IIT Kharagpur. To get there, we passed through Visakhapatnam, Vizag. I remember it being a quiet and modest coastal city brimming with potential. Now in that same city, Google is establishing a full-stack AI hub, part of our $15 billion infrastructure investment in India. When finished, this hub will house gigawatt-scale compute and a new international subsea cable gateway, bringing jobs and cutting-edge AI to people and businesses across India. We're also building a vast network of subsea fiber optic cables, including 4 new systems between the US and India, as part of our America-India Connect initiative announced yesterday.
As a sign of our commitment, we just this week opened an office in Bengaluru and hired Irina Ghosh, who has spent 3 decades building businesses in India as our managing director for Anthropic India. We've also announced partnerships with major Indian enterprises this week, including Infosys and others. On the opportunities, one dynamic that we have observed is that technology and practices pioneered in India have historically set a standard for the global South and have helped to diffuse technology and humanitarian benefits through the global South. We're therefore we have been partnering with for several months, nonprofits such as the XSTEP Foundation, Pratham, and Central Square Foundation to use our models to advance digital infrastructure, education, agricultural efficiency, and health, in the hopes of spreading AI's benefits across the global south, starting with India and diffusing out to the rest of the global south. We're also partnering with CARIA and the Collective Intelligence Project to build evaluations and metrics of our model Claude's performance on India's many regional languages. On practical and locally relevant tasks, we'll benchmark like agriculture, legal tasks, and educational content. On the risks, India is the world's largest democracy and can be a partner and leader in addressing the global security and economic risks of the technology. We'd like to work with India on testing and evaluation of models for safety and security risks in the tradition that was started by many global and national AI security institutes that have been stood up around the world.
With the lights dim, legends of cuisine and mixology rise. This is where hospitality meets honor. From iconic hotel bars to unforgettable dining experiences. From chefs who redefine taste to leaders who shape the future of hospitality. Celebrating excellence behind the bar and brilliance beyond the kitchen. Classic, contemporary, chic. Where heritage meets innovation.